Well, hello there, and thank you for joining me for this very special Kirby's Dream Land and Kirby's Return to Dream Land Deluxe comparison video. What a very long introductory sentence, but that's what this is. I just recently played the first ever Kirby game, Kirby's Dream Land, and now that I've done that, I can compare the enemies in that game to the enemies that appear in Kirby's Return to Dream Land Deluxe. I just wanted to compare the earliest versions of Dreamland enemies to the latest version of Dreamland enemies. Since I've played both games now, I thought that would be a fun topic, so here we are. Before we get started, I just have two things that I need to clarify first. The first one being that I am only comparing the enemies that appear in both Dreamland and Dreamland Deluxe. I believe that's 18 of them, surprisingly. Only 18 out of 48 enemies appear in both Kirby's Dream Land and Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe. So we don't have a big pool to work with, but it's going to be an interesting one, I think.
That is an odd-sounding group.
The other thing I need to clarify is that I will be using the official art for the enemies in Kirby's Dream Land as opposed to the enemies that appear on screen. The official art is how the artists wanted them to look, had it, not been for the limitations of the technology at the time. I wanted to give the original enemies in Kirby's Dream Land an actual fighting chance against the enemies from Kirby's Return to Dream Land Deluxe because the ones in Kirby's Return to Dream Land Deluxe are very, very cute. I already made a whole video about that. I think they're just so cute. So I wanted to actually give the original enemies a fighting chance. So I'm using the official art from Kirby's Dream Land. I will show the image of what they are officially supposed to look like on screen when I bring them up.
Got it? Good.
So with that in mind, let's get started with comparing these enemies. I am going to go in alphabetical order. I just thought that would be the easiest way to do it. And yeah, let's get started. Okay, first up we have a personal favorite enemy of mine. It's Blipper. I think Blipper is just so cute. He wears a little swim mask, but he's a fish. Why does he need a swim mask? I don't know, but it's so cute. In this case, I think I'm gonna have to choose the Return to Dreamland Blipper as the cutest one, but that's only because you can't see the original Dreamland's eyes. He's got his swim mask covers his eyes, and so you can't see his cute dumb little face. In Return to Dreamland, you can see his cute dumb little face. And it makes his mouth just so much funnier. He's just like, ooh! The winner of this round, Return to Dreamland. By the way, I'm not gonna say Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe every time. It's Return to Dreamland or Dreamland. I'm not saying Return to Dreamland Deluxe every time. Although I do have to specify that it is Return to Dreamland Deluxe because Return to Dreamland has a different art style.
See difference, man?
Okay, moving on to our next enemy, we have Bronto Burt. And Bronto Burt, again, I think I'm gonna have to give it to Return to Dreamland as opposed to the original. And that's only because of the expression on Bronto Burt's face in the original art. Look at him. He's mad. He's saying, "Fight me!" Well, Bronto Burt in Return to Dreamland is saying, "Fight me! Fight me, please! I wanna get into it with the baby fight!" Return to Dreamland Bronto Burt is cuter. But on the other hand, our next enemy, Broom Hatter, I think Broom Hatter is actually cuter in the original Kirby's Dream Land. I don't know what it is, but it's something about the way he's holding that broom in that picture. It's the cutest little thing I've ever seen. It looks like he's giving a little hug. And it's interesting because the Broom Hatter in Return to Dreamland is actually rounder, so you'd think I would like that one more. You know I have a weakness for roundness. But in this case, I actually am gonna give it to the original Kirby's Dream Land Broom Hatter. I think he's cuter.
Deal with it!
Now we've got Cappy, and Cappy is a tough one because they actually give me a version of Cappy both with and without the cap in the official art. And with the cap, he looks round and squidgy. But without the cap, he kind of looks like a ghost. Not a spooky ghost, but not like the cutest ghost I've ever seen. While in Return to Dreamland, he does look a little bit squidgy, but not as round and squidgy as he does in Dreamland. But without his cap, he looks less like a ghost and more like a gyroid from Animal Crossing. Do you understand my dilemma?
No, not really, no.
If not, let me break it down for you. I find the version with the hat, with the cap I should say, I find the version of Cappy with the cap from Dreamland cuter, but I find the version of Cappy without the cap from Return to Dreamland cuter. So I guess that's how I'm gonna have to score it. It's a half and half. It's not even really a tie. It just depends on how I see it. If it has a cap, then Dreamland wins. If it has no cap, then Return to Dreamland wins. That's just how it has to be. I don't make the rules, except that I do. Next we have Glunk. Glunk is hilariously named. I love that Glunk is named Glunk, and it's the perfect name for this enemy. It's just... Someone looked at that and said, that is a Glunk. And everyone else said, yes, you're right. Now, my thing with Glunk is, I might have leaned more towards Kirby's Dream Land if it wasn't for the fact that his eyes are staring directly into my soul. In Return to Dreamland, they're kind of a little bit cross-eyed, and that makes him look a little dopier, a little less threatening. So, for that reason alone, I'm gonna have to give it to Return to Dreamland. The penetrating gaze is just too much for me in Dreamland.
He's seen things that you just can't even imagine.
But the next enemy, Gordo, is proof of exactly how much difference the pupil placement can make. Because the pupil placement in Gordo it's dopey. It makes him look kind of cute though, right? He's non-threatening this way. This is the least threatening Gordo I've ever seen in my life. And I've watched Lizzie McGuire. The Gordo in Return to Dreamland is also cute, but you can see that those spikes look pointy. They're sharp, right? But then you look at Dreamland's Gordo, and he's got those nice rounded points. Those don't look like they could hurt anybody. Those are safety scissors from kindergarten, the ones that don't cut anything.
These things couldn't cut butter.
Dreamland's Gordo is definitely the winner, definitely the cutest. Next up we have a tricky one because Kabu is not particularly cute in either Dreamland or Return to Dreamland. Oh, I don't know. He's just... something about him, man. Just something about him. It's not for me. I think ultimately I am gonna have to give it to Return to Dreamland Kabu because Dreamland Kabu has this little kind of upturn at the insides of his eyes, right at where his eyebrows would meet. And that makes him look worried or sad. And I don't know, that doesn't make me think cute. It makes me think sad. So that's literally the only reason.
And it's a good one.
Now we have Mumbies. Mumbies are so funny because of their name and the fact that they're just round balls of bandage. They're just mummies, but they don't have any human form. They're just... Are they Kerbal mummies? Is that what they are? Who knows? I really like Mumbies. I think they're very funny. I think they're cute little dudes. But you know what? I think I'm gonna have to say that Dreamland's Mumby is cuter than Return to Dreamland's Mumby. And that's because in Return to Dreamland, it's got this giant red eye. And I have been conditioned by media to know that giant red eyes are bad. But in Dreamland, he's just a round little dude. He's just perfectly circular and one little eye sticking out. And it's yellow, so it's not like, you know, the most human of colors. It's still kind of a creepy color. But it's not anything too scary, and it's not red. If it was red, I would be saying something different. This would be a different conversation, but Dreamland wins this round.
Do you think you would ever want to, maybe, look into my glowing red eyes and become bound to me forevermore?
And now we move on to a really difficult one. It's Poppy Bros Jr. Poppy Bros Jr. in Return to Dreamland I've always thought were adorable. From the first time I saw them, I thought they were the cutest little thing. But now I'm struggling because Poppy Bros Jr. in Dreamland is the look how cute that is. Look at him on top of that apple and he's so happy and he's running. Oh my god. I genuinely don't know which one to pick because I want to say Dreamland, but then I look at the one from Return to Dreamland and his super round little head, and it makes me smile. But then I look back at the one from Dreamland and the fact that he's got his little arms up in the air like a little baby. You know what? I'm more emotive about Dreamland, so I'm gonna have to give it to Dreamland. There's just something about that drawing that melts my heart.
Isn't he the cutest little cutie wootie? Look how cute he is.
Oh, now we have another hard one. It's Scarfy. Oh my god, they sure gave Scarfy a cute little face. It's basically just Kerbal. That's just Kirby right there, but with a little different shape of a head. He's even pink in this picture. It's very, very hard for me to not choose that. But I feel like choosing that is just me choosing Kirby, you know? But on the other hand, in Return to Dreamland, he's a cute little guy with a little cat face. Right? Those are cat ears, kind of pointy. It's cute. I like. They're cute. This is a very tough one. I'm really not sure who I want to choose. You know what? I think I am going to have to go with Return to Dreamland, because I think the one from Dreamland kind of looks like Kirby with a bad toupee. And the more I think that, the more I can't unsee it. And yeah, the one that looks like a kitty is cuter to me.
She looks like a nice kitty.
Now we move on to an enemy that I just don't think should be an enemy. Shatso. How is this not just a environmental obstacle? I will say that this is probably the hardest one because they are just so similar. They're just cannons. And they look like different angles of the same thing. And I think this might be the only tie I'm going to allow myself. I don't think one is cuter than the other. I find them both equally fine. We're gonna give this one our only tie of the video. I promise no more ties. And that's only because it's just guns, man. I don't know what else to tell you.
Hooray! A tie!
But now let's move on to an enemy that I actually will not give a tie to, Sir Kibble. Sir Kibble is a tough one, because I find both of them very, very adorable. And while I do appreciate the roundness of Sir Kibble in Return to Dreamland, I think I'm gonna have to give this one to Dreamland. Because look at this Sir Kibble and the fact that he's clearly skipping. That's a carefree Kibble right there, and I can't not choose that. Sir Kibble of Dreamland, you win this round. And now let's talk about the perfectly named enemies, Squishy. They are just squishy. I mean, you could literally use that for about half the enemies in this game, but they chose well for this particular enemy. It is squishy.
I shall call him Squishy, and he shall be mine, and he shall be my Squishy. Come here, Squishy. Come here, little Squishy.
Now, I really struggle with this one as well. I say that a lot in this video, I think, but it's true. It's not as easy as I thought it was gonna be. I actually thought Return to Dreamland Deluxe was gonna clean up, but that's not the case. I feel like it's more evenly matched than I thought. And this is exactly why I chose to use the official art as opposed to the pixel art you see in the game. Because the pixel art you see in the game is only what the creators could do with the technology they had at the time. And this art that they created, that's what they were seeing in their mind's eye as they were creating the game. So that's why I like using this official art. And boy, did they draw Squishy really cute in Dreamland. He's basically just a little mushroom shape on top of 3 ovals and a couple of cashews. It's so cute though. Now, Return to Dreamland does have the benefit of being, you know, more clearly attached. It's clearly all one piece. I don't know why, but I think I have to choose Dreamland. Something about this totally simple drawing of this cute little dude it's getting me. I want to hug it. I want that as a plush. That exact thing. We're going with Dreamland. Oh my god, it's the series staple, the Waddle Dee. Now, I have not played every Kirby game, not by far, but I do believe that Waddle Dees are the most prevalent of enemies. They might be in every single Kirby game, but I don't want to say that and be wrong, but I do feel like they're at least in the vast majority of them. They're quintessentially Kirby, I do know that. Now, I fully expected to choose Return to Dreamland with no trouble at all, but I'm actually struggling a little bit because of just how cute this little Waddle Dee from Dreamland is. I think it's that little shading they gave on his face. Something about it makes him just look a little bit shy. And also, he's just so round. My god, am I weak for roundness. I just love it.
I know what I like.
But you know what? I think I still am gonna have to give it to Return to Dreamland. It's just a lot closer of a call than I thought it was gonna be. But I still think the Waddle Dee from Return to Dreamland is cuter. He looks kind of squidgy. He kind of looks like a Squishmallow. Like, I feel like if I hugged both of them, the one from Return to Dreamland would be squishier and more huggable. And that's, I guess, good enough a reason to choose Return to Dreamland Waddle Dee. But Waddle Doos, on the other hand, they are equal in their roundness. Both are equally round, but look at this Waddle Doo from Dreamland. He just looks carefree. He looks hopeful. The way they drew him, he's looking up into the sky, as if he has hope for the future. The Waddle Dee in Return to Dreamland, the image I have, it makes him look like he's going on a business. He's like a little businessman. I need to give him a briefcase, because he's a little businessman.
And look at this little businessman!
And while there is nothing wrong with an adorable round little businessman, there is just something about the three-haired Waddle Doo with no care in the world that's getting to me. So I think I have to choose Dreamland's Waddle Doo. He's just got something about him. And that's it for the regular enemies, but I do actually have 3 more enemies for us, and those are the bosses. There are 3 bosses that appear in both Dreamland and Return to Dreamland. So let's compare them as well. First up is Wispy Woods. Now, I've always had a soft spot for Wispy Woods. I think it's because it reminds me of the Deku Tree, but less friendly, more threatening.
Sounds like somebody's evil twin.
I've just always had a fondness for the general design, and I think that both designs in both games are pretty great. But I'm leaning towards Dreamland's Wispy Woods as opposed to Return to Dreamland's Wispy Woods. And that's because in Return to Dreamland, he just looks a little more lifeless to me, I guess? I don't know how else to put it. It's a weird emotion I'm getting from it, because he's definitely a tree in both. He's a tree in both of them. That is what it is. So, you know, there's not a lot of cuteness there. But in Dreamland, his little expression is more personified. It just seems like it's more emotive in some way. I guess it just looks a little bit more like a face in Dreamland than it does in Return to Dreamland. Although it's not really that huge of a difference, I'm gonna give it to Dreamland.
A narrow victory.
Now we have a really tough one, Kabula. Kabula is in both Dreamland and Return to Dreamland, although you might not remember Kabula in Return to Dreamland, because I sure didn't. You can find Kabula in Return to Dreamland Deluxe in the sub-game Booming Blasters in Merry Magoland. That was a lot of words, but basically it's like Kirby laser tag. It's that sub-game, and you have to, outlast the others. And it's a good little sub-game, but it's not one that I actually played very often, so I never actually saw Kabula in the sub-game. So let me read to you what it says on WeKirby.com about Kabula showing up in Booming Blasters. There is no time limit to battles in Boomerang Blasters. However, if 1 minute and 15 seconds elapse before a winner is decided, Kabula will show up on the stage and start raining down bombs, making it more difficult for contestants to avoid elimination.
That sounds awful.
For me, a winner was always decided way before 1 minute and 15 seconds in those games, so I don't think I ever saw Kabula rain hell down upon us all. Personally, I'm glad I was able to avoid that, because I was not able to avoid Kabula in Kirby's Dream Land, that's for sure. Now, I will admit I'm having trouble choosing which one is cuter, because again, it's kind of like Shotzo. It's just a blimp with a gun on it. But I think I'm gonna have to default to Return to Dreamland, just because that version of Kabula has a face on it.
Seems fairly obvious.
Also, I already promised when I gave the tie to Shotzo that I was only gonna do that once, so I can't do that again. So I'm gonna have to default to Return to Dreamland. That one's cutest because it has a little face on it. And finally, we end with a bang on King Deedles. I have a very soft spot for the Deeds. I think he is just the cutest little guy with the little face. I also love him knowing that he's not ever really been an enemy to Kirby since Dreamland. Dreamland is the only game that he really is truly an enemy to Kirby. In all other versions, he's either brainwashed or being forced to do it somehow, or he's just, having mock battles with Kirbs for the fun of it. All that being said, I just think that Deedles is a fun dude.
He's a cool guy.
And I have to choose Return to Dreamland Deedles as the cutest one, because in Dreamland, you can see how angry he is in that official art. He looks mad. He's really ready to fight. And then look at Return to Dreamland. That's not fighting, that's exciting. They really made Deedles much cuter in the later games. He's just so much rounder and far less angry. So Return to Dreamland Deedles, you are definitely the cuter of the two. And that's it. That's all of the enemies that appear in both Dreamland and Return to Dreamland Deluxe, compared by how cute they are. And I went and tallied up the number of winners in both Dreamland and Return to Dreamland and found that it's a tie. It's 9-9. The tiebreaker would actually be Shatzo, the one enemy that I gave a tie to. That would be the determining that would be the determining ranking to decide which had the cuter enemies. But I'm just gonna say that the enemies in Dreamland and Return to Dreamland are equally cute. We've proved it.
Proves it empirically. That means it's verified.
I know!
I refuse to choose which Shatzo is cuter. I firmly believe that they are equally cute in that they are just round cannons. They're cuter than normal cannons, but they're still just cannons. So there we have it, folks. The enemies in Dreamland and Return to Dreamland are equally cute, and we should all just be happy about that. This was a weird video, I will admit. I'm also recording it on Saturday night at 8:30. I'm trying to get this out on Sunday at about 4-ish. We'll see how it goes.
Bad.
But whenever this video eventually did come out, it was fun to make, so I'm happy to have done it. And come back for my next Kirby video. I haven't decided what it will be, but it will be something. So check it out with me. And until then, if you made it this far, thank you so much for joining me today. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. If you liked this video, hit that like button. If you hated this video, hit that dislike button. And either way, hit subscribe. Thanks so much. Bye-bye. I truly can't believe that it ended up being a tie. I really didn't see that one coming.
A tie? This worked out better than I could have hoped.